Hey everybody, it's John King with Summit Funding, and it is Friday, the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo. I got a lot to cover today, and unlike what I normally do, where I kind of give you a breakdown of all the things I'm going to talk about, I'm just gonna riff. I'm going to talk about what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about, what's happening right now, and share a little bit more of my feelings of what's happening. So I'm going to start by diving into the deep end and tell you right now, I feel like it's a horrible time to buy a home. And you might say, John, why in the world would you say that? Like, you're in lending, you're supposed to tell everybody they should buy a home. Well, they should. Home ownership long term is great, but the truth is, it's a very rough time to purchase a home right now. Interest rates are super high. There's no inventory out there, and nobody is selling a home right now unless they absolutely have to. And so it's a really hard time. And the truth is, with all the issues going on in banking, it's getting even harder. The rules are tightening, the rates and fees are getting more expensive, and it's making this a hard time to buy a home. But here's the other side of it. I think we're spoiled. I think we've been absolutely spoiled over the last 10 years about what it costs to own a home. And I think people need to recognize it's not going back to where it was. And that's what everybody's waiting for, is how is it going to go back? When are rates going to fall and things are going to be the way they used to be? Well, here's the deal. 2007 is not what we're dealing with right now. We're not going to have a huge market crash. We're not going to have prices fall because people who own homes are spoiled with super low monthly payments relative to their income. Think about it. People who bought their homes after the Great Recession got a super low price on a home, and they've been able to refinance multiple times over the last 10 years to get a lower interest rate and a lower monthly payment. And a lot of them were super conservative when they bought the home, that they spent a small portion of their income, and it's become even smaller because interest rates have fallen and their income has continued to go up. And now what have they done with the extra money? They spent it on Disneyland season passes, and that's great. And I love experiences. I love having the ability to do things and to enjoy our life. But it's just not reality that you can do all of those things all of the time and be able to own a home. It's a choice. Never in history has it been so distorted as it has for the last 10 years, and people have gotten spoiled. They made a decision 10 years ago buying a home. I had so many clients that said, you know what, John, I only want to qualify on one of our two incomes. And the fact is, they could qualify. If you had a married couple or two people buying a home, married or not, and you said, hey, I only want to qualify with one of our incomes in case something happens to one of our jobs, I don't want to have the same problem my parents and my grandparents and my aunts and uncle had back in 2007 to 2009 when they lost their home. And I think that's smart thinking, and the market allowed for that. So you have two income households that were buying a home that one income could afford, and then they've been able to lower that payment through refinancing to lower interest rates. They've been able to continue to make raises. They have no incentive to sell. So that whole segment of the population that would be moving to a bigger home isn't making that move. And even when interest rates come back down a little bit, they're still not going to make the move in mass because they're super lucky, super spoiled. And that also applies to the renters today. The truth is, rents have continued to go up, and we've lost the thinking that I need to sacrifice a little bit to become a homeowner. And I understand people don't want to be house poor. I understand we don't want to go back to the way we were in 2004, 2005. But we've got to understand, hey, if I want to own a home, I can't own a home and have a payment that is super low, that's less than what I'm paying in rent, and continue to spend all the money that I'm spending right now in all the travel that I'm doing and my Starbucks coffee every single day. Like, I'm not the person that's going to tell you don't have Starbucks, but what I'm telling you is we need a bit of a reality check. Now, there's a lot of news going on right now, and I'll share with you a little bit of that in a minute, and then I'll kind of come back and give you how all this wraps together. So what's happening in the news right now? We've got the Fed that just raised not the unemployment rate. The Fed just raised the Fed funds rate by another 0.25%, and there's some fear that they're not done raising rates. And I've been saying for the last couple of months, I think the Fed's just about done, and I think the Fed should be done. The problem is the unemployment report that came out today continues to show jobs are super strong. And with super strong jobs, the Fed is concerned that inflation is not going to go away. And they've been trying to slow down job growth, and it hasn't slowed down. As a matter of fact, the unemployment rate this morning went down. Fewer people are looking for work compared to before. So we've got kind of a weird situation. We've got high inflation, and the economy seems to be doing pretty good, and that's going to continue to push inflation up. And so there's a chance the Fed's going to keep raising interest rates. Now, on the other side of that coin, we've got the inflation report that comes out next week. And there's a lot of expectation that inflation report is going to show less inflation than what we have been seeing over the last few months. And there's a lot of expectation that's going to drive mortgage rates down. And I think that may just happen where interest rates for mortgages start going down after the inflation report next week. The problem is that they can't ignore the unemployment report from this week. And high job growth means that inflation is not going to go away as quickly. And so we're in a situation where everybody's crossing their fingers and hoping that, hey, I'm waiting until interest rates drop in order for me to buy a home. Guess what? Everybody is waiting for interest rates to drop in order to buy a home. And so you're going to be in a situation where you're going to pay even more for the price of the home. That doesn't seem to be accomplishing your goal. You're going to need more money out of pocket for a down payment. You're going to have a higher monthly payment because even though rates fall some, you're going to spend more in the principal purchase price of the home. And that was proven a couple months ago, a month ago with the California Dream for All program, and how many buyers came out of the woodwork to take advantage of that program. And I have a bunch of buyers that are waiting for that program to come back, that say, I can't afford to buy unless I can have that program. And I have a video that I did a couple weeks ago where I explained why I'm confident the program is coming back, but only for a short amount of time. It's going to be the same amount of money that we burned through in 8 business days last month. And it's going to burn through even faster when it comes out this time. So when's it going to come out is the unknown. The fact of the matter is, you have to decide. If you want to become a homeowner, you've got to commit to doing something that isn't comfortable. You've got to do something that your peers haven't done for the last 10 years, but do something that everybody else did for decades prior to that. You got to sacrifice a little bit. You've got to figure out, how do I sacrifice in order to afford a mortgage payment today? Because mortgage payments go down over time because interest rates drop and you're able to refinance. Rent payments go up over time because rent continues to rise over time. So honestly, guys, all the news that's out there right now, the bank failures that are going on, there's more banks that are going to fail. We're going to see it because the Fed keeps raising interest rates, and that keeps causing problems with the loans that the banks had done previously at low rates are worth less money. And it's going to exacerbate. And it's going to mean that there's going to be a tightening of credit. There's going to be less money available. I think regional banks that are in the spotlight right now are going to slow down how much mortgage lending they do. I think we've got a lot of unintended consequences coming. But I think that for some people, now is your best chance. It might be a bad time to buy, which is what I started this rant, this video, this conversation, is I think it's a horrible time to buy a home. You should have bought a home 10 years ago. But unless you have a time machine, you can't go back in time. And so you have to decide, what am I going to do today? How can I act different today? What can I change right now that will change the future for myself, for my family, for my children, and for generations to come? And I firmly believe home ownership is that thing. It's just a question of, can you really make it happen today? Because these rates and these payments are a lot higher than what they have been. And it's not about how do I qualify with just one income out of our 2 incomes. It's how do I pool together with 3 or 4 other family members and bring a couple households together and find a way to buy a home. That's how our grandparents did it. That's how people generations ago did it, is they all pulled together and bought one home, and then they saved money together and bought the second home and then bought the third home. And it's something we've got to change in our thinking if we want to continue to become homeowners and build long-term generational wealth through home ownership. We've got to think different because we're not in the same environment that we were in the last 10 years. So if you have questions about this, please give me a holler. I would love to talk through it with you. If I can help you in any way decide is now a good time for me or not, what the market looks like. I'm continuing to provide education on new programs or even old programs on how to help people that are struggling getting their down payment money to purchase a home, how to buy homes with small amounts of money out of pocket. There's lots of options out there. We just need to have a conversation about it. So stop sitting in the living room talking to your friends and family and griping about the housing market. If you want to make it different, do something about it. Give me a call and let me help you. Thanks for listening. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.